Alex Sudakov is on the line with us here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really great, Tommy. How are you doing?
Yep, I'm doing great as well. Now, you've written many short stories, of course. How would you describe your writing style in general?
Well, actually, English people have a very nice and I would say descriptive statement about this style. It's a flash
Mm,
fiction. It is basically a fiction, some sort of story in the flash, right?
yeah,
It's something which have a formal restriction of under 1,500 characters, including spaces and punctuation. So it is pretty short. No, normally it's one paragraph, maximum two.
yeah.
So it is very short. If you put it in voice, then it would be well under 2 minutes.
Mm,
So it is short.
yeah.
It is short. And again, we're all hooked up a little bit to all these pandemic experiences and lockdowns and new style of working and living. And I would say that before I got stuck in my house, I was not writing short stories.
Mm,
No, not at all. So it is basically a phenomenon of being isolated, of being working from home, where people don't have just a regular commute of 30 minutes to work, for example, right?
yeah.
Where you have 30 minutes for yourself. And here it's just you, your cell phone, your computer, and you get interrupted all the time. So the time comes for us in very short bits, and
Mm, yeah.
to consume something. Oh, at least I'm talking about me. I don't know what about you, but if I say open 200-page book and I get 10 times interrupted, then it's not the same book as
yeah.
I would consume if I just sitting somewhere and reading it
Yeah.
straight. So it's different style of consumption.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because, when you're at home, you have all the distractions in the world around you. And also, since this pandemic, I've been spending quite a lot of it sleeping when I didn't before.
Well, but when you sleep, you actually control. Well, your subconscious control your time, but basically
Mm,
you can direct your dreams as you wish. But if you are awake, then that's it. It
yeah.
ends. So and basically, for me, it was quite a discovery when I started uh, getting more TikTok videos from my friends and
Yeah.
reels and whatever other short form delivery. I suddenly realized that actually somehow people manage to say quite meaningful things in this 15 or 30-second time period. And and in fact, after listening to all these short things, I started thinking in this way. And once I started thinking in this way, just short stories came along.
Yeah.
So it is just endeavor of 1 year old.
Mm.
What can I say?
Yeah. And writing short stories, do you ever feel restricted maybe because you don't have as much time, so to speak, to write as much as you would in a novel?
Well, I would say that it's always comes at least with two edges. Sometimes
Mm.
many of them. So yes, obviously there is a restriction, and yes,
Yeah.
you must feel and obey and internally guide and drive yourself to fit with them. But on the other
Mm.
hand, I would say that it's also an enabler because suppose you want to write a novel
Yeah.
and you have a restriction of 600 pages, otherwise no publisher will read it in a meaningful time, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but to sit down and write it, how would you go? Because there are different schools of thoughts. How do you should you plan? Should you write as you go? And on and on and on. But if you want to say something in 1 minute,
Mm.
then you actually try to say it in 1 minute. If you have something to say, and then you can just try, and then you don't need to do multiple corrections on the text because you can do it all in your hand. Your memory can, so it is an enabler. In a sense, it's easier. In a sense, of course,
Yeah.
it's more difficult. About restrictions, on the other hand, look at the poetry, for example. It is delivering thoughts and imagery and ideas with very tough restrictions on the rhythm, on rhymes, on whatever other things are customarily used in the poetry. And still, people do amazing things with this form. So any restriction on the text or on the word composition, how I would say, makes you think harder, and sometimes, yeah, it allows you to say more.
Yeah. And presumably you could probably write more stories in a period of time because it takes a lot less time to write a short story than a novel.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Suppose you're writing, okay, not 600, not 200, 100-page story. All right. Well, how long would it take? 2 weeks, probably, at the very least. So, how many times can you try different fables, different approaches in a year? Not that many. But with the short stories, you can do just tons of them. And you try different characters, you can whatever, you can try a lot more different things.
Yeah.
It's just like if you buy a kilo of cookies of one kind, it's one thing. But if you buy assortment of cookies in the same kilo, you can get a lot more experience.
And do you find that people are still interested in reading short stories? Because I've got to be honest, if I went into the library, I probably wouldn't even think about getting a collection of short stories or whatever. I'd just instinctively look for a novel of some sort.
Yes, that is correct. Because in many people's mind, you still have this assumption that reading is about long form. Yeah, that's. On the other hand, if it's not a poetry, then it's not a poem. Then it's God knows what. On the other hand, how many people do you see reading long novels?
A lot.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. So then I should switch to a long ones, or maybe just pack them short stories in a long packages.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about my own experiences for too long. So same thinking, the same thing was with movies, for example. Right? We initially all this imagery started with photography, which is just one moment image of reality. Then, okay, people came up with a way to deliver movies. Then we got commercials interrupting movies, so the long movie got split into shorter pieces. So, and now we have an option. We can turn on TV, for example, and watch uninterrupted, or we can go with a normal channel and every 5 minutes watch for commercial. And you know what? I thought myself once that actually I do need these interruptions every 5 minutes at least, to check my cell phone, to go to the restroom, to do something else. Uninterrupted attention is not that easy to deliver. And if you interrupt it, then you're in a different place slightly than when you left.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, because back in the olden days, when you went to the cinema, there was an interval for films when they had to change the reel over.
Yes. So I think it goes back and forth through the human history. There is some tendency to allow people to have longer the time, and on the other hand, we'll have a lot of things affecting this interval. And again, about audiobooks. So, for example, 5 years ago, when I was driving to work, I turned in the car some audiobook and was listening. Right, and initially it took me about half an hour. So for half an hour, you can go through quite a portion of a book. On the other hand, then I moved closer to work, and I had only 10 minutes. Okay, for 10 minutes, sometimes it's not even worth it to turn the book on. Right, and what can I say? On the other hand, I can watch some YouTube movie or listen some podcast which lasts 5 minutes in pretty much any setting. So,
Yeah.
what is better, not to listen at all or listen to short things? It's the same
Yeah.
about reading.
Yeah, that's true. So, where does all the inspiration for your stories come from, generally speaking?
From my brain, I guess. No, but because all we have thoughts, right? We have some kind of thing on our neck which produces thoughts non-stop, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find a time where it's not. But the whole thing, if you're talking about long stories, then you need to have a collection of these thoughts which kind of be lined up in something long. If it's a short story, then I'm not saying that every thought is capable of becoming a story, but many of them. You just read something about robots, about robots, about the danger of robots taking over the planet, for example, right? Okay, and then you think, well, I'm wondering how robots will be different from us then. If they are just like us, then yes, they have tendency to the power, they want to get more power, but then they maybe like to stop in a bar and have a couple of drinks. And what would happen if a robot get drunk? It's just such very short series of connections are just enough for producing a story. And again, about the good thing about short stories that basically you paint only some part of the whole picture, and the rest of the picture is supposed to be painted inside the listener or inside the reader's head. That's the thing. And when I describe a drunk robot in a bar, right, with a bartender hitting a reset button, for example, right? You will imagine one thing, I will imagine another thing. So by I don't know 150 words, in fact, I produced a lot of different scenarios.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just one way of looking at things.
Definitely. Well, where are we able to find your short stories if we're interested in them?
You can go, for example, to the Reader publisher, but there you find my first book, which is in Russian.
Yeah.
The easiest way, you just go to TikTok or to Instagram and type in Fun Pilsner. Search for Fun Pilsner. You know the word fun, F-U-N, and Pilsner is a light beer which gives you fun, but not too much drunkenness and not too much calories. So that's kind of analogy for this. And there you will find Fun Pilsner _en with English stories, Fun Pilsner _ru, _ru for Russian stories, and just Fun Pilsner where you have a mix of everything.
Yeah.
So just go and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and what else, and comment. Put meaningful comments so we'll have a discussion.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been great having you on.
Well, thank you very much for having me and for having this fun discussion. And again, leave your comments if you want long stories. Just ask. So it's pretty easy. Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful day.